Hello, today I'm going to show you how to make a tricolor linen stitch triangle shawl. So I have in front of me a scarf that I made that it uses the tricolor linen stitch that I learned from TL Yarn Crafts. So you have 3 different colors that you use that you pick up and you crochet a line in each color before you switch. It's wonderful because you don't have to weave in ends along the way. I made this scarf using that motif, so I just kept all of my edges straight. But today I'm going to show you how you can use the same pattern to make a triangle shawl. The colors that I have today are these beautiful colors from Malabrigo yarns. So I have this wonderful variegated, very fall colorway, and these are all worsted weight superwash merino wool, and each of these has, I believe, 210 yards. They're all 100 grams and absolutely beautiful. So I've got this color that I'm going to be using. And just like that, everything is all caked up. I realized that I had not told you what the names of these colors were. So this really pretty blue on this side is called Paris Night. Absolutely adorable. The neutral kind of mushroomy beige is called Sandbank, also very appropriate. And this variegated is called Marta, M-A-R-T-E. I believe I'm pronouncing that correctly. So I've got my 3 colors that I'll need for the tricolor linen stitch, and then I've also got my hook. For a worsted weight yarn, I'm using a size J hook, which is a 6mm hook. So I'm going to start with the blue, just because blue is my favorite color, and I already kind of pulled out a little bit of the center. So I'm going to start by making a slip knot, leaving myself a little bit of a tail at the end so that I have something to hold on to and also something to weave in. So I've got my slip knot here, and now I'm going to be chaining 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. So I've got 4 chains right here. I'm now going to single crochet into this first chain, so the one that is furthest away from my hook. Now I'm going to be chaining 3. No, I'm not. Now that I've got that single crochet right there, I'm going to be chaining 1, and then I'm going to single crochet into the same place, but I'm not going to single crochet all the way up. This is where I'm going to be adding in my next color. So usually to finish that single crochet, I would yarn over, pull up that loop, but because I'm now going to be changing colors, I don't want to quite finish the stitch because I want the loop that I pull up to be the color, my next color. So I'm going to start with this really pretty variegated. I'm going to pull that to the side. And then just like I did with the tail on the other one, I'm going to leave myself a tail here that I'll weave in and knot in later. And I'm going to be finishing that stitch. So right here, you can see I've got a space where we did our chain 4. I've got our single crochet right there. Then I have another little gap of a chain 1, which is really hard to see right now, but I promise it'll be a little bit clearer once we get going. And then I also have this finished single crochet that we changed colors on. So now that we've changed colors, we're going to be chaining 3. 1, 2, 3, and turning our work. So I'm going to be holding this kind of extra tail that we just dropped from where we started our color over to the side to help keep that stitch closed. As we go through this linen stitch, we'll be coming back and using that later. So I've chained 3, and I'm going to be doing all of my increases on one side to make this triangle shawl. So one of the sides, like this side over here, is not going to have any increases. This side is always going to have increases. So I've changed colors, I've chained 3, and so now I'm going to single crochet into this first gap, that chain 1 that was kind of hard to see. And now I'm going to be doing the increase. So I'm going to chain 1, and then in that same gap, I'm going to be single crocheting once more. There we go. So we've got, you can tell that this is an increase because they look a little smushed right there. We've got our gap on the end, and then we have our increase right there. I'm now going to finish the row by chaining 1, and single crocheting into this gap. The same way that we did it last time when we changed colors, I'm not going to be finishing this stitch because I'm going to be adding in my third color. Oh, that was really easy, find that center pull. And just like the other ones, I'm leaving myself a tail. So I'm going to be pulling up this third color. And now, since I'm at the end of the row, I'm going to be chaining 3, 1, 2, 3, and turning my work. Now, like I said, all of our increases are on this side. And if you wanted to put a stitch marker or something like that so it's easier to see which side your increases are going to be on, you could. But since we're starting this row, we're starting without an increase. And this whole row is not going to have any increases. So I've chained 3, I've turned. I'm now going to single crochet into this gap. I'm going to chain 1. I'm going to single crochet into the next gap, chain 1, and then single crochet into this last gap. So you can see on the first row, I had 1, 2, 3, well no, I only had 2. I had 2 single crochets in a gap. On the next row, I had an additional single crochet, so I had 3 single crochets in a gap, and this one, I have 3 single crochets in a gap because this is not an increase row. So we're going back to the first color that we started with. So we've got our blue down here. We've got the longer tail that's still connected to the skein or the cake, and that's what we're going to be pulling up. We're going to be pulling that up to change our colors. We'll be chaining 3. Because this is a tri-color repeat, what's really cool about this is that all along the sides, every time that you end a row, you're going to go back and pick up a color that you've already used before now. So you won't have any ends to weave in as you go along, which is awesome and part of the genius nature of this stitch pattern. So now I'm going to turn around. This is my side where I increase. So I'm going to single crochet into that gap, chain 1, single crochet. Excuse me, bubble in my throat. Single crochet into the same stitch. So I have my chain 3 turning gap, got a single crochet, a chain, and a single crochet right there. And I'm going to go down the rest of the side the same way that I usually do. So I am single crocheting into any of the gaps, and I'm putting 1 chain over any of the single crochets. So just like we did last time, now that we're at the end of this row, I'm now going to be picking up a color I've already used before. So I'm going to be picking up that variegated color. And again, I'm making sure that I'm pulling the string that is still connected to the skein. Maybe pulling that up, tightening that down a little bit. I'm at the end of the row, so I'm going to chain 3, turn it around. And this is a non-increase row. So I just do all of these standard. So I'm single crocheting into my gaps, chaining 1, all the way down. Beautiful. And now that I'm at the end, I'm going to be picking up the kind of neutral color right there, finishing my stitch, chaining 3 and turning. As you can see, these colors are working super pretty together. I'm really excited about these colors. And you can also kind of tell, even though it's still in the beginning stages, that this is where all the increases are happening. This is our increase side and this is our straight side. So I have changed into the kind of beigey color. This is an increase row. So I'm going to single crochet, chain 1, single crochet into the same gap, chain 1, and then complete my row. Beautiful. Now that I'm at the end, I'm going to pick up that really pretty blue color, and I'm ready to start the next row. So as you can tell, we've got all of our increases over here, and we have all of our straight sides over here. I'm going to keep working the same pattern by just going back and forth, increasing every other row, and I will meet you back here after I've gotten a couple of inches gone on this. All right, I'm back. And guys, Oh my goodness, look at these colors. They work so well together. So I have done several more rows. I've got my straight side, which is a lot easier to see now that this is the side that doesn't have any increases on it. This is the side that does have all the increases. And the way that you're carrying the yarn as you go through this is what gives you this pretty little like fold over right here. So as I keep going, I can crochet while I'm talking. So I've already chained 3 on this side. So I'm going to be starting an increased row. So I'm going to go in here, single crochet, chain 1, single crochet, move my way across. What is really nice about this particular pattern is that you can make this shawl as big or as small as you want. If you wanted to make a really pretty cute kind of like little kerchief style, you would stop it a lot earlier than if you wanted to make like a big cozy shawl that you can wrap up in. For this particular shawl that I'm working on, I am going to be making this as a gift, and my plan is to just go until I run out of yarn. So with these hanks, each of them had 210 yards in them, so that's 330 yards, and I'm just going to keep going until I run out of yarn. So I'm going to be continuing to work this wonderful pattern almost at the end of this row. And I will check back in with you once I am close to the end. And just like that, I have gotten to the point on my tricolor linen stitch triangle shawl that I am happy with the size. So what I did was I just kept increasing on this side, and then on this side, this is my straight size. This is where I had no increases, and I kept using the yarn until I was happy with the size. I measured it from the tip of where I started down the straight side all the way down to where I am currently until I got to about 30 inches. That was a good size for the shawl that I was trying to make. You could of course make this a little bit bigger or a little bit smaller, but that was the size that worked well for me and the person I'm making this for. And I also know that this is going to stretch some when I block it. But I wanted to show you that I still have a decent amount of the blue left. This is the color that I use the most because it is the color that I started with, as well as the last color that I did right here. I knew that I wanted to start and end with that blue, and I'm going to do a pretty reverse single crochet, which I'll show you in just a second. But then my other 2 colors, the Sandbank and the Marta, I also have a decent amount left over. So if you bought, for example, the 3 colors that I bought from Malabrigos, if you bought 3 skeins of their worsted yarn, you would have enough to make the size shawl that I'm making. Again, I measured it for 30 inches on the straight side, and you would still have enough colors left over to make a hat, to make maybe like a little change purse or something like that if you wanted to make a set. I think that I'll be using these colors because they're just so happy and pretty. Maybe for a hat, I don't know. But I like these a lot, and this yarn has been a dream to work with. So since I know that I'm going to be ending with blue, I went ahead and cut the Marta color, that kind of variegated color, as well as the Sandbank color, and I'll be weaving those ends in and tying little knots to make sure that that doesn't come unraveled. But that way I only have one color at the end to work with. So for the reverse single crochet, I have ended my row on this side. So I'm going to turn my work so that you can kind of see. And usually once you finish a row, you turn it. So I would have finished this row just like this, and I flipped it over. But for the reverse single crochet, you're actually not going to turn your work because, as the name suggests, it is worked in reverse. So I'm going to pull out a little yarn so I can get going here. If you've watched my fancy linen stitch square, you've also seen the reverse single crochet. I like it a lot for finishing off projects. I've used this on like the ends of sweaters. I've used it on cowls. I haven't really used it on hats because I really like a little bit of ribbing on hats, but I use it for a lot of things. And the way that we're going to do it today is we're actually going to reverse single crochet into the gaps of our linen stitches instead of into every single stitch. So to start, I'm going to chain 1, and I'm going to be moving from left to right. So I'm going to insert my hook into this gap right here. I'm going to reach around and pull up a loop. If it'll cooperate. There we are. And then I'm going to yarn over and pull it through both loops. So I'm moving from here to here. I'm moving from left to right instead of from right to left as I usually would as a right-handed crocheter. So now I'm going to do it again. I'm going to go into the next gap instead of into the next stitch. Insert my hook, pull up a loop, yarn over, pull through both loops. I'm going to do the same thing in the next gap. Insert my hook, grab a loop, pull up the loop, yarn over, and continue. If you did a reverse single crochet into every single stitch, it would look fine. It would look a little bit more ruffled, and that's just not the look I'm going for here, which is why I'm doing it in every other stitch. But do what works for you. So I'm going to keep going down my row, and what's nice about this stitch is, one, because you're doing it in every other stitch, it just absolutely flies by. But two, it's just a nice little something extra for your last little bit of your shawl. Now, of course, you could end your shawl with just a regular linen stitch row like I have here, and that would look gorgeous. If you were making it for someone who didn't really want anything frilly or extra on the end, you totally could end it just with whatever color you wanted to end it on. But for me, I liked it a little bit something special and a little bit of something extra. I'm going to work all the way to the end of my row. Again, going in just the gaps, which is another way that this is working out very quickly. Instead of having to find a stitch to work into, you're just going right into the gaps. And I also decided to do the same color for my reverse single crochet as I did for my last row. You could, of course, change the colors if you wanted to, especially if you hadn't cut your last color. If you wanted to do your reverse single crochet in a different colorway that would stand out, you totally could. This stitch is also sometimes called the crab stitch. So if you've heard of that, it's the same exact stitch. So I will meet you right back here as soon as I reach the end of my row. All right, now I'm at the end of my row. I've got a couple of stitches left, so I'm going to go right here into that gap. And then this is my increase, so I'm going to go in between these two little guys right there. Then my last stitch will be right here with my chain 3, my turning chain right there. Insert. And now I will simply cut, pull it through here, leaving myself enough room to weave in my ends. And that's the edging. I mean, guys, can you even? Like, that's, it's so pretty. And I love these colors. So I am now going to wet block this, which means that I'm going to soak it in a wool wash and some water for about 15 minutes. Then I will pin it to the shape that I want, so a little bit stretched out. With this yarn and this stitch, because it is a wool yarn and because of the stitch, you can see that it has a lot of stretch. So it is going to grow some when I block it. But I will meet you back here after it is all blocked and ready to go. And it is all done. It's completely dry from being blocked, and I absolutely love this. This is the tricolor linen stitch triangle shawl, and I made mine until it was 30 inches on the straight side, and then I blocked it. The yarn that I used was a 100% wool yarn, so it did grow and block a little bit, and I absolutely love it. Like, can you see the detail? How well these colors play. Oh, they're gorgeous. And this did not even use 3 100-gram hanks to make this. So I still have leftovers, and it's stunning. I cannot wait to give this away. I think this is going to make such a great gift, and who knows, maybe I'll even make some more for the holidays. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, make sure that you hit that like button and subscribe if you want to see more videos like this from me. Bye.